That's right. That's right. We're at Castle Medical Center, as you mentioned, on the windward side, and not too far from here in Maunawili is where the Native Hawaiian AHA is going on, right?
Yeah, it's the Royal Hawaiian Golf Club. So let me see if I can kind of put this into a nutshell for you. Now, of course, Hawaiians have been talking about sovereignty since 1893 and the overthrow of Queen Liliuokalani. What is going to happen? What are we going to do as a people? Well, the latest round of sovereignty discussion started with Kana'i'oluwalu. That's where you would register to vote. You would say, okay, I want to have a say in what's going to go on. Then it was Na'iaupuni. This is the actual election where you would elect people to delegates to come up with a direction of some sort. Now, of course, there are protesters with this, and so with that, they stopped the election. They says, okay, we understand that this process is going to take years. With the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, we probably won't get a result for years, so we're going to just stop the election. We're not going to open the box. We're not going to determine who the winner is.
Not count the votes or anything. Yeah.
Not at all. No. So they says, we're supposed to narrow down to 40 delegates. Mm-hmm. We started with 191. Mm-hmm. Since we're not holding the election, let's just get everybody who seems to be interested in this endeavor together, put the minds together, and see what we can come up with. Mm-hmm. So out of the 191 people that were into this election, 150 says, okay, I'll show up. So that's what they've been doing for the last month, is sitting down. They've had to go ahead and learn about all the different kinds of sovereignty, about all these indigenous people around the world and their forms of indicative sovereignty, I guess you could say. And then they have to come up with rules so they're not all shouting at each other all at one time. How are we going to conduct ourselves? And then they go through the process. Now, that's what's been really quiet. We haven't heard anything in the process of this last month, and today is the final day. Opponents to all of this are saying, 1, who elected you? 2, you're not inclusive of everybody, and 3, the status or whatever is going to happen is already predetermined. We will talk to both sides coming up in this hour.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, so from here they take whatever's drafted and they submit that to the Department of the Interior, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, that could be one thing.
Okay.
That decides if they would decide to work with the United States, or they could decide to go on it all on their own and say, we're not going to be connected with anybody. We're just going to be ourselves a sovereign nation.
And to speak to, to speak to one of the other points, though, it already started with a small group, and then there were people like Bumpy Kanahele that were told that your opinion is not wanted anymore. So it's kind of whittled down to an even smaller group. So there are people that are going to say that this isn't completely representative of the Native Hawaiian community, right?
If you remember Uncle Walter Riddy, he was one of the delegates that
Yes.
says he wanted to be in the election. He took a look at what was going on and he says, this isn't right for him personally, and he says he's out. So there's kind of different sides. There's Bumpy Kanahele who says that I've been watching with this, I'm opposed, some who've been in, and then there's a lot of intelligent young and older Hawaiians who've gotten a lot of education that are in on the AHA.
Okay. A lot of this comes down to either deciding whether they want federal recognition versus total independence as a nation, right?
Yes, and that's been a question that's been going on for decades.
Do we know if anybody was taking minutes?
Yes, they've got a whole process where they have secretaries, somebody is making sure that it's all documented, because they're going to have to show later what they've come up and how they've come up with it.
And it might be interesting for people who weren't there to read it and try to digest the play of ideas.
So we hope to hear from the AHA side on what they've done and what they've come up with so far.
On their final day of
We'll
meeting.
keep following. Thanks, Billy.
We'll take a short break and be back here on Sunrise.